I never imagined our modest dream would spark heartwarming stories every single day. I will never forget the day everything fell apart. It was like any other Saturday, bustling with the warm chatter of the neighborhood café, the smell of freshly brewed coffee filling the air. But then, something shifted. A chill crept in, gnawing at my spine. I glanced around, my heart racing. The laughter of friends, the clinking of cups, it all dimmed into an echo. I felt a tightening in my chest. My sister, Lily, sat across from me, her eyes wide with disbelief. "Can you believe it?" she whispered, shaking. I wanted to tell her it would be okay, but fear lodged a lump in my throat. Just a week earlier, we were strategizing over biscuits and fraps, plotting our small art show in the community center. Our modest dream. We hoped to showcase local talent, to spark inspiration and connection. But now, the announcement on the board was blaring. Cafe closing. All events canceled. My world tilted. I thought of our family's struggle. My dad's thinning hair, my mom's weary smile, how they sacrificed for us to pursue our passion. It felt like someone was tearing down our dreams, replacing them with harsh realities. I glanced at Lily's hands trembling as she picked up her phone. There was desperation in her eyes as she checked for updates. Then, the knock echoed, sharp and sudden. I turned to the door, almost expecting someone to rush in with a solution, a spark of hope. Instead, an older man stood there, weathered and tired. He looked at us, bewildered, and we shared a silent plea for answers. "Is this where the art show was supposed to be?" he croaked, and my heart plummeted. I nodded. My voice faltered. It was the words felt heavy on my tongue. The truth loomed, a gaping hole where dreams used to dance. He stepped closer, a light flickering in his eyes. "You must not give up. The community, we need this." His words clawed at my heart, both a comfort and a weight. But as he spoke, sirens blared in the distance, puncturing the moment. Panic was turning in the air, like a storm gathering strength. What was happening? The people outside were murmuring, faces twisted with concern. I clutched my sister's hand. "Do you hear that?" she asked, eyes darting toward the window. I nodded. The sounds grew louder, an ominous buzz wrapping around us, fueling the unknown. How could a single day unravel so quickly? And just as I felt my hopes slipping, Lily's phone buzzed again. She glanced down, shock sweeping over her. "Something's wrong," she whispered, eyes reflecting a storm. What could have changed in an instant? What revelation lurked behind the shadows threatening to engulf us? I felt my heart race, a desperate beat echoing in the sudden silence. "Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon, and while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The cafe's atmosphere shifted like the weather, dark clouds gathering in the corners of my mind. I could feel the weight of uncertainty pressing down on my chest, each heartbeat resonating with dread. It was just a dream, a simple endeavor to bring color to our corner of the world. Yet, now it felt like a distant memory, slipping away like grains of sand unable to anchor in the present. Lily's fingers trembled around her phone, and I leaned closer to peer at the screen. The news blared with distressing updates, protests erupting in the neighborhood. Messages of fear and unrest rippled through the community. The sirens grew louder, adding to the sense of chaos surrounding us. My heart sank deeper. "Lily, what's going on?" I managed to whisper, my voice barely making it past the turmoil in my mind. "It's the city," she said, her breath shaky. "They're making cuts again. They closed too many community spaces already. It's not just the cafe. It's everything." Her words hit me like a slap. A subsequent wave of panic washed over me. How could they? We had fought so hard to create a haven in a world that increasingly felt unwelcoming. My mind raced back to our idealistic discussions about art therapy, how we believed in healing through creativity. Now, the world around us felt more broken than ever. As Lily scrolled through her phone, I searched for anything to grasp onto, a flicker of hope amid the storm. Just then, a young couple burst through the cafe door, eyes wide and filled with fire. "We heard what happened. We need to band together," the woman cried, her voice rising above the din. "This can't be the end." The cafe had become a chamber of resilience. Against the backdrop of uncertainty, this couple's enthusiasm ignited a spark within me. I looked around, noticing small pockets of the cafe patrons leaning in, expressions shifting from fear to defiance. My heart dared to hope, just for a fleeting moment. They gathered around us, voices layering into a symphony of determination. "No more closures. We'll fight for our community. We'll organize." Their words wove through my heart, beginning to mend the frayed edges of despair. "Together we can make a difference," the older man from earlier affirmed, stepping forward with newfound confidence. I saw something shift within him, a resilience born from necessity. Reluctance gripped my throat. Could our fragile dream truly thrive in a time like this? Would it become a lifeline for us and for others in the community? Lily's hand squeezed mine, a lifeline tethering me to reality. "You have to speak," she urged, her voice steadying me. "We can't let this go without a fight." That I took a deep breath, standing before the small gathering of hopeful souls. "We all wanted this cafe to be a home for creativity," I began, my voice trembling but growing stronger as I spoke. "We can't let it be extinguished by fear. Let's turn this moment into something beautiful." The cheers that erupted made my heart race again. Together, we brainstormed ideas, our energy melding into a collective pulse. We talked about street art, pop-up galleries in the park, and hosting open mic nights to showcase local talent. Who knew what might stem from that spark? Hope began to seep back into the cracks of my heart, slowly lifting the weight of despair. But then, as plans blossomed, my phone buzzed violently in my pocket, shattering the moment. I pulled it out, the screen illuminating with a message that made my breath catch in my throat. "Emergency meeting. Important updates regarding your parents' situation. My heart stopped. The storm within me swelled again, threatening to crush the flickering flame of hope. "Is everything okay?" Lily asked, noticing my pale face. The warmth and camaraderie surrounding us faded, and the weight of reality clawed back. I don't know," I whispered, staring at my phone. "Could be about Dad's job. I need to go." The urgency felt overwhelming, the gravity of uncertainty pulling me downward, even as a fragile light flared in my chest. Could we continue to fight for our dreams with all of this weighing heavy on us? I glanced back at the group, seeing them rallying together, planning their next steps forward. "Stay hopeful," I urged, my voice thick with emotion. "We'll find a way." I left before I could lose myself deeper in fear. The cafe echoed behind me as I stepped into the world beyond, where shadows loomed and dreams hung in the balance, teetering on the brink of hopes, fears, and unforeseen challenges. What awaited me could change everything. As I hurried down the street, the soft murmur of voices from the cafe faded into the cacophony of the city. The noise was overwhelming, a stark reminder of everything hanging in the balance. With each step, my heart waged war against practicality, yearning to believe that perhaps our little dream could withstand the challenges looming ahead. I reached my parents' small apartment. Its familiar facade now held a weight I hadn't anticipated. The bricks that once felt comforting seemed to loom ominously, while the pot of flowers in the window was wilting, as if mourning the state of our lives. As I approached the door, my hands trembled, the night air thick with unspoken fears. The moment I stepped inside, the atmosphere shifted. My mother sat at the kitchen table, her head in her hands, the soft glow of the single bulb casting shadows across her tired face. I rushed to her side, instinctively wrapping my arms around her. "Mom," I whispered, my own voice quaking. She looked up, fresh tears shimmering in her eyes, and suddenly, I felt years shift in an instant. "They're closing the community center," she said, her voice a broken melody. "Dad's been let go. It feels like everything is falling apart around us." Each word cut deeper, slicing through the thin veil of hope that I had been grasping so tightly. "But he can find another job," I said feebly, though a hollow ache filled my chest. "There has to be something else out there. I don't know if he has the strength to fight anymore." She looked at me, her gaze piercing through my facade of optimism. "We've always struggled, you know that. But this, it feels different." Her voice trembled, and I felt the weight of her despair pressing down upon my shoulders. I wanted to comfort her, but my own heart felt too heavy to sustain us both. "Well, figure it out, Mom. We'll make it work," I promised, though my own words tasted bittersweet. Just then, my dad entered the room, his eyes weary, the lines on his face deepening as he absorbed the weight of my mother's words. "What's happening?" he asked, the tremor in his voice betraying his facade of strength. "Jimmy," she sighed, swallowing hard. "They're making cuts. The community center is just the beginning." The vulnerability of their relationship became palpable in that moment, a depth of worry that neither of them had braced for. As I stood there, I felt that familiar warmth of the café urging me forward, a vision of candles flickering on tables, a space filled with laughter and comfort washed over me. "Dad, what if we turned this around?" I began tentatively. "What if we organized something, a community art project?" He paused, a spark momentarily lighting his eyes. "What do you mean?" His confusion lingered, tangled within the web of uncertainty. "The cafe has become a hub for people to connect. We could host events together, use art to heal." The words poured forth, infused with the energy of the earlier gathering. "If we believe in it, together could reach out and rally others. Maybe they'd help us in return." My parents shared a look, something unspoken passing between them. "We could do crafts," my mother suggested, her voice softening. "They're good at the community center." "Yes, it could be something for everyone to look forward to," I urged, feeling a glimmer of purpose ignite in the space between us. In that moment of shared vulnerability, we turned back toward the world outside. Perhaps, together, we could push back against the darkness that threatened our dreams. Just as hope dared to settle in, the sound of my phone chimed again, breaking through the fragile moment. I peered at the screen, dread curling in my stomach as another message flashed. "Update regarding your parents' financial situation urgent." My breath caught, drifting away in a swirl of disbelief. I struggled to meet my dad's gaze, the frail hope unwinding within me. Would I find the strength to carry on? Or was it all slipping away, as it always seemed to? "Everything okay, kiddo?" he asked, furrowing his brow. With a lump in my throat, I nodded but felt the truth dangling precariously on my lips. "I just need a moment," I whispered, retreating into the shadows of uncertainty that threatened to swallow me whole. The dissonance between hope and despair intensified, each heartbeat reminding me that our dreams were born clinging to paper-thin threads. As I paced the room, the walls closed in, each ticking second echoing like a countdown. Would we have what it took to weather the storm? Outside, the protests had escalated, their resounding calls for change drifting through our closed windows, a stark reminder of the legacies looming over us. I felt the fierce resolve of the cafe crowd surge in my veins, pressed against the tempest gathering within our small nest of familiar love. But just as resilience began to spark again, I found myself yearning for something beyond words, a sign of reassurance. Perhaps, amid the chaos, the tapestry of our lives could still weave unexpected stories if only we had the courage to grasp them. Nonetheless, my phone buzzed again, this time a missed call from a number I distinctly didn't recognize. My stomach twisted with trepidation. What did it mean? The cliffhanger left me teetering, ready to plunge into a sea of uncertainty. The morning light spilled through the tattered curtains, casting soft streaks of gold across the room. I lay awake, staring at the ceiling, the weight of yesterday's revelations pressing heavily on my chest. My mind raced with a familiar tumult of emotions, hope and fear at war with each other, creating a cacophony that echoed through my thoughts. The missed call still lingered in my mind like a question without an answer. Who was it? What did they want from me? I had half a mind to simply ignore it, convinced it was another unwelcome reminder of our struggles. But there had been an urgency in the missed call that twisted my stomach. It was just a tiny slice of my world on the edge of unraveling, waiting for something to tip it further into chaos. Breakfast was a quiet affair as my parents exchanged hurried glances, each one a mirror of our shared worries. My mother, attempting to piece together something resembling normality, fussed over burnt toast while my father read the news, his brow creased in concentration. Not a word passed among us about the community center or the looming financial troubles. There was a hopeful electricity in the air, but it felt as fragile as a dream fading at sunrise. Maybe I could talk with someone at the café today, I suggested tentatively. See if they have any leads for the art project we mentioned? I could tell they wanted to bolster this flickering hope too. Even if it felt futile, that if you think it will help, then I say go for it, my dad replied, his voice thick with uncertainty. But don't get your hopes up, all right? I nodded, though his words felt like chains binding me in place. Uncertain as I was, my heart ached to push forward. Outside, the atmosphere was unlike the usual hum of life. Protests roared louder than ever, filling the air with fervent calls for change, hope colliding with frustration in a powerful display. Their voices permeated the streets, offering a strange kind of comfort, a reminder that struggles weren't faced alone. I caught glimpses of passionate signs, each word beckoning possibility like a lifeline in rough waters. As I reached the cafe later that morning, two distinct emotions swirled through me. Excitement mingled with anxiety. I inhaled deeply as I pushed through the heavy door, the familiar aroma of coffee and baked goods enveloping me like a reassuring embrace. The vibrant chatter around me felt electric. I spied familiar faces amidst the crowd, but my heart longed for something or someone who might spark lasting change. Hey, you made it! Sarah, the cafe's owner, greeted me with an effervescent smile that brightened the room. I think you're just in time. We're planning a community project ourselves. My eyes widened, hope spreading through me like warmth from a cozy fire. Really? Tell me everything. I leaned in, curiosity spilling forth as Sarah outlined a plan for an upcoming art fair, a potential platform that could champion local artists and fortify the community spirit. Maybe this was the momentum I had been yearning for. As we talked, the chatter of the cafe faded into a comforting hum, and the bleakness of my home life momentarily receded. Suddenly, I felt a part of something bigger, something hopeful. To create, to inspire, to connect, it wrapped around my heart like a soothing balm. As we neared the end of our conversation and plans started to take shape, I felt the urge to share our family's idea. What if we collaborated? I suggested. My parents have always loved art and community-driven projects. Just then, my phone buzzed again in my pocket, jolting me back to the surface. I glanced down to find another message from the unfamiliar number. Please call back. Important regarding community resources. My heart raced. A sense of foreboding drew my breath short. I barely got a chance to respond before an older gentleman approached me. His frame was slight, yet he carried an air of undeterred strength. Excuse me, he interrupted, his voice gravelly yet gentle. Couldn't help but overhear. Your parents' names, are they Jimmy and Maria? The world dissolved around me, and all I could do was nod, the breath hitching in my throat. Yes. Do you know them? I know them, yes. I'm here to help. His piercing eyes sparkled with determination. I work with the Community Development Organization. We may have some resources for your family and plans for that art project you're talking about. The whirlwind of emotions crashed into my hope, exploding amidst the chaos and uncertainty like fireworks lighting a darkened sky. What was this? A light at the end of the tunnel, or merely a flicker, ready to be snuffed out? As he continued to talk, every word filled me with a growing sense of possibility, but I held on to my caution. In that moment of unexpected kindness, just when I thought it couldn't get any more complicated, the inner battle to protect my heart grew exponentially. Can we meet later today? I asked, my voice thick with urgency and excitement. I need to talk to my parents before we make any decisions. He smiled, a comforting weight in the air between us. Of course, child. Hope stands strongest when shared. He handed me his card, and in that fleeting moment, I caught my parents' gaze from across the room. Their expressions mirrored my own, shimmering with hope, yet shadowed by uncertainty, as if we were all waiting for the other shoe to drop in this precarious dance. I left the cafe with my heart racing and hope flooding back in waves. But just as I stepped outside, my phone rang insistently with the unknown number again. It felt like the crescendo of the storm was about to break. I hesitated, as if recognizing the significance of this call would unravel the delicate tapestry of hope we were beginning to weave. With a shaky breath, I braced myself for whatever revelation awaited on the other end. I never imagined our modest dream would spark heartwarming stories every single day. My heart raced as I answered the call, the persistent ringing now feeling like a warning bell. "Hello?" I managed to say, my voice faint and unsteadied. "Is this the Rivera residence?" The tone on the line was businesslike, yet something deep era a hint of concern underlay the clipped words. My stomach flipped as my thoughts raced. "Yes, this is me. Miss Rivera, it's concerning some developments regarding your family's financial status." My pulse quickened, and I forced myself to listen. But all I could think about was the man at the cafe and the hope blooming like flowers after a long winter. "What do you mean?" I asked, panic throbbing in my veins. Are we in more trouble?" A moment of silence passed before the voice replied, lingering heavily in the air. "There might be options available through community programs. I suggest you meet with someone as soon as possible." "Okay," I murmured, desperate for reassurance. "Can you tell me who I should speak with?" Before the caller could answer, I caught sight of the older gentleman from the cafe. He had walked out to join me, his aura wrapping around me like a comforting blanket amidst the swirling emotional chaos. "Who are you speaking to?" he asked, concern etched on his weathered face. I held the phone tightly, torn between the urgency on the other end and the grounding presence of the man who might have come to change everything. "It's about our financial situation," I replied, my voice small. "But I also met someone else who might help. Can you be there with me?" A small smile broke across his face as he reached to take my arm gently. "I would be honored to assist you." I ended the call without a proper goodbye, fingers trembling. The world felt small and overwhelming. The possibility of hope was right in front of me while shadows of concern loomed behind. "Let's go," I said, determination lacing my heart as we walked together toward where the man had suggested we meet. The building we arrived at was a modest community center, its vibrancy contrasting the dread that crept along my spine. There were vibrant murals painted on the walls, ethereal representations of unity and resilience. I hadn't expected to find beauty in such a difficult moment. Inside, a warm atmosphere enveloped us, filled with activity and the sound of community. But as I was led toward the group of people waiting for me, I felt tiny knots of uncertainty tighten in my gut. Just as I was about to step forward, a commotion erupted nearby. A young girl with fiery red hair was crying, her mother kneeling beside her, frantically searching for something lost, perhaps a treasured toy. My heart ached as empathy washed over me. I could vividly remember a similar feeling when I lost my favorite drawing as a child. "Do you need help?" I called out instinctively, stepping closer despite my own inner turmoil. The mother looked up, her face a portrait of relief mingled with worry. "Yes, if you can help find her stuffed bear. We can't seem to locate it anywhere." The older gentleman from the cafe joined me, his warm presence bolstering the moment. Together, we started searching the area, disrupting the beautifully orchestrated chaos of the community event. As we looked, I noticed something, not just the bear the girl had lost, but the smiling faces of those around us, all united in resolving a simple yet significant conflict. Instead of the weight of burdens dragging me down, I felt a flicker of warmth, community in action. Moments passed, tension easing like waves retreating from the shore, as laughter crested among onlookers. Suddenly, a little boy piped up, clutching the long-sought bear, his eyes sparkling like gems. "I found it!" he exclaimed triumphantly, holding it up in the air. The girl's face brightened, tears turning to joy in an instant. "Thank you," she shouted, leaving her mother with words of gratitude and a single, shining smile. Witnessing this small act of kindness enveloped me and grounded me even further. Perhaps, amidst my own uncertainty, hope was born out of shared human connection, even when it felt like we were standing on the precipice of despair. Our small task had been completed, but as I returned to the conference area, I overheard snippets of conversation regarding my family's situation. Anxiety gnawed at my insides as I realized the dialogue was turning toward the real struggle my parents faced. "Expenses are piling up," a woman said. "We have to approach the bank this week. If they deny the loan, there might not be any coming back from it." The world began to spin again, the warmth I had felt only moments ago extinguished by the weight of my family's future. Before I could garner my thoughts, the cafe owner approached, bright-eyed and hopeful. "We're launching the community project together," she announced. Oblivious to my turmoil, my heart surged momentarily, hope reigniting, until a crushing weight settled back in. The reality of what my family might face twisted like a knife in my chest, opportunities slipping away while our dreams hung by the thinnest of threads. Just then, the older gentleman touched my shoulder, breaking through the density of my thoughts. "Remember, child," he said softly, "when it seems lost, that's when you must hold tighter to your dreams. Hope and community are the very tools you weave to change your life." That I wanted so desperately to believe him, to embrace his belief without fear. But just as I opened my mouth to respond, a loud crash echoed through the room, its sound splintering the air like a bombshell of chaos. People gasped, and I spun around, eyes wide, heart pounding. A glass had shattered on the far side of the room, and when I looked closer, I saw a distressed figure pushed forward, a familiar silhouette that sent chills down my spine. "Sam?" I called out, stunned. But once I met his gaze, I knew this was no innocent visit. His expression was one of desperation and fury, and what he uttered next would change everything forever. "We need to talk. It's about your family." Hope wrestled violently with fear, and I was left standing in a whirlwind of emotion, not knowing if what came next would heal our wounds or carve deeper scars into our lives. The air felt electric, charged with the weight of unspoken words and emotions that hung like a dense fog. I half stumbled back, feeling as if I had plunged into icy waters, my heart threatening to break free from my chest. Sam's presence, which once ignited warmth and dreams of a shared future, now radiated an ominous chill that unnerved me. What was he doing here? My mind raced through countless scenarios, each more horrifying than the last. As the murmurs of the crowd receded into a dull roar, all I could focus on was the urgency veiling his brow. "Sam, what do you mean? What's going on?" My voice wavered, caught between curiosity and dread. His eyes darted around the room before settling on me. It's about your parents. They're making decisions that could jeopardize everything." The world around us blurred as if I were witnessing it through a kaleidoscope. Confusion spiraled within me. My parents? Decisions? My heart raced as memories of countless late-night conversations played back through my mind. My mother's persistent smiles hiding worry, my father's laughter concealing the weight of responsibility. Decisions? What kind of decisions? I barely managed to ask, the words scraping past my throat. Sam's expression hardened, and he took a step closer, creating an intimate bubble that seemed to shield us from the growing swarm of questions around us. "They're planning to sell the house. I overheard them speaking about a final resort given their financial struggles." My stomach dropped. The thought of leaving that home, the only place I had known comfort and memories, sent a sharp ache through my chest. "No, they wouldn't. They've fought so hard to keep it that I didn't want to believe it either. But they feel out of options," he pressed, his urgency pulling me closer to the precipice of reality. "You have to talk to them. They need to know there are other options." As if a dam had broken, anger and despair surged through me. "How could you stand by and let this happen? You knew but didn't say anything?" My voice grew sharper, edging into fury. "Believe me, I didn't have a choice. I was trying to find a way to help, but I'm just one person." His eyes flashed with desperation, and I caught a hint of vulnerability that slowed my anger. "But now we need a plan. We need to fight for them." For a fleeting moment, the crowd around us faded, leaving only Sam's gaze, filled with urgency and something else, a flicker of genuine care. But before I could respond, the older gentleman from the café interrupted, placing himself between us. His watchful eyes assessed the tension blossoming like an unexpected storm. "Miss Rivera, I see you're in distress," he said softly, his voice a soothing balm amidst the chaos. "Perhaps you all could step outside for a moment? The fresh air might do you good." That I hesitated but felt Sam's presence behind me, anchoring, urging me to step outside. I nodded, and together we drifted to the door, leaving behind the crowd thick with discussion and apprehension. Once outside, the cool breeze caressed my cheeks, sharp enough to jolt my mind into clarity. "I don't even know if I can trust you, Sam. You knew something was wrong, and yet you waited?" I spat, feeling the hurt and betrayal coiling tight in my chest. "It was too risky," he replied, running a hand through his hair, frustration etched into his features. "But seeing your family struggle now, I wish I had been braver." Silence enveloped us for a heartbeat, and I felt the weight of regret settle over him like a shroud. The tension throbbed like a living thing, and I hated how our past lingered between us, its fingerprints etched into every interaction. Without warning, he stepped closer, his voice barely above a whisper. "I don't want to lose you, regardless of how my choices have affected everything. I can't bear the thought of your family being torn apart." His confession hung in the air, fragile as glass, and just as I opened my mouth to respond, a commotion erupted across the parking lot. I turned instinctively, and as soon as I did, a chill crept down my spine. In the distance, a figure loomed, a tall man. In a dark coat, shadows cast harshly against the setting sun. My heart raced as recognition struck like a bolt. "Dad?" I called out, unsure if I was dreaming or wide awake. Was this not just another challenge but an unraveling thread pulling my entire world apart? He stumbled forward, his face an amalgamation of despair and anger, and suddenly, all the fragmented pieces of my life rushed to the forefront. "We need to talk about the house," he barked, his voice cutting through the frail facade of community and hope. The ground felt unsteady beneath mezzamething trembled on the horizon, a storm gathering force as the past suddenly collided with the urgency of the present. Just as he reached us, his eyes searched desperately for something, or perhaps someone, the ache of family echoes intertwining with uncertainty. With my heart in my throat and a tempest ravaging my thoughts, I didn't know if we had the strength to weather this storm together or if the ties binding us would finally snap under the pressure. As my father drew closer, everything about him screamed desperation. His disheveled hair, the weariness etched into the deep lines on his forehead, and the way he shifted his feet as though every step was a battle. I hardly recognized the man who had always held such certainty and strength. "Dad," I breathed, my voice barely audible. "What's going on?" "Your mother," he started, his voice cracking as it caught on sorrow. "She's been crying. I overheard her talking to you today." The admission felt like shards of glass piercing my heart. A memory of her gentle laughter surfaced, dancing like sunlight through the trees. And yet, now that light felt extinguished. "She really thinks selling it's the only option left," my father continued, though it was as if he were retreating into the shadows of a past he could not bear to revisit. "That we can figure this out. We can go through the budget again. There have to be alternatives," I said, grasping for any thread of hope that would keep our family afloat. That he closed his eyes tightly, as if wanting to shut out my words. "But I don't know what to do anymore. We've tried everything. It's gotten worse, and I can't." His voice trembled, choking on the unspoken grief that hung heavy between us. "Then let's fight." I was surprised by the strength I found in my own voice, rising up at the realization of how much I longed for him to see the fight within me, the daughter looking to him for reassurance. "We can call the bank, get a lawyer, talk to friends, they might have suggestions. We don't have to just accept this." From behind me, Sam, who had been quiet as my father voiced his fears, stepped up. "Mr. Rivera, if I could offer my help." "No." The sharpness in my father's voice sliced through the air. He turned, eyes narrowed, brow furrowed with irritation and something deep of fear I knew all too well. "You've done enough, Sam. A silence descended, thick and palpable, nearly tangible like the mist rolling in, shrouding us in uncertainty. I caught Sam's eyes, and for a brief moment, I felt the tug of the past, the inseparable bond that had once seemed unbreakable. "Dad," I said softly, laying my hand on his arm, trying to bridge the chasm spreading between us. "Please, don't shut people out. I'm scared too, but we can work together." A shuddered breath escaped him, and he rubbed his forehead as though trying to expel the weight of our circumstances. "I just want to protect you," he murmured, the fight leaking from his voice. "I'm not sure I can." With a sudden movement, Sam stepped forward again, this time with a conviction that surprised me. "I'm not just here for you, Mr. Rivera. I'm here for her. Whatever she needs, I'll help. If you ask me to leave, then I'll go, but please let me be part of the solution." His gaze shifted to me, imploring, as if we were locked in a silent understanding. A shard of warmth ignited in my chest, a flicker of something I hadn't allowed myself to consider in weeks. Together, we could stand against the storm. My father's eyes darted between us, confusion swirling as he took in the scene. The unsteadiness in his stance faltered further, and for a moment, it felt as if we might solidify the ground beneath us. "Please, just think it over, Dad," I pressed, my spirit igniting with hope even as my heart trembled with fear. "We'll find our way. We won't lose this." Then, as if conjured by the black clouds of uncertainty overhead, my phone buzzed violently against my hip. I fumbled for it, the suddenness of the movement breaking the tension that had enveloped us. My heart leapt into my throat as I glanced at the screen, seeing my mother's name flash ominously against the backdrop. "What is it?" Sam whispered, a frantic edge to his tone. But I didn't know how to answer. All I could do was stare, the possibilities stretching out before me like a path through an overwhelmingly dark forest, where every choice echoed with consequence. "Get it?" my father urged, his worry resurfacing a reflection of what lay on the other side of the threshold. As I answered, my pulse quickened with each beat, a weight settling on my shoulders. "Mom?" The silence pressed against me, thick with dread. I felt Sam standing close, his steady presence a reminder that while the storm loomed, warmth still flickered within reach. Her voice came through, trembling like brittle leaves in the wind. "I need you to come home. Now." And just like that, the fragile thread that connected us all began to unravel, the storm igniting, revealing the depth of struggle, secrets just waiting to emerge. My heart raced, and before I could prepare for the whirlwind ahead, the truth loomed, a revelation that could change everything we thought we knew. As I stood in the fading light, the weight of my mother's words wrapped around me like an unwelcome shroud. The calm facade of our evening shattered, replaced by a frantic urgency. I barely had a moment to breathe, caught between the shadows of my parents' despair and the flicker of hope ignited by Sam's unwavering presence. "Let's go," I said, my voice steadier than I felt. I looked to my father, who appeared paralyzed by a tumult of emotions. His grief was palpable, but beneath it flickered something that resembled determination. Encouraged by this flicker, I repeated, "We need to go home." Together, the plea broke through him like light through a storm cloud. He nodded, albeit reluctantly. Sam met my gaze, and though his expression remained serious, I saw something unspoken widen between us, a shared understanding of what was at stake. A tether forged in the fires of hardship as we all moved toward my car. The air thick with anticipation, I found my heart racing. Each step felt like a leap into unknown waters, prompted by the instinctive need to protect the people I loved, even as the heavier truth loomed, a truth I feared would redefine everything. The journey home was hushed, the only sound the rhythmic pulsing of tires on asphalt. I stole glances toward my father, only to find his eyes fixed on the road like it was the only anchor in a turbulent sea. Sam remained by my side, his quiet strength a steadfast guide amidst uncertainty. Neither spoke. Words would only break the fragile thread of hope that tied us together as we approached our house. The familiar outlines became shadows of memory. The porch light flickered feebly, casting eerie shapes on our front lawn filled with blooming wildflowers, remnants of my mother's once vibrant gardening passion. But today, they seemed to bow under the weight of unspoken sadness. When we stepped through the door, the air felt different, heavy with the scent of my mother's favorite lavender cleaning solution, a bittersweet reminder of her efforts to maintain some semblance of normalcy within our chaos. I called out to her, my voice wavering, "Mom, we're home." Silence hung thick, draping the spaces around us with an intensity one could feel in my bones. Then, from the back room, a sound soft and painful, like a weeping wind. My heart seized. I rushed toward it, my movements fueled by a mix of dread and protective instinct. Opening the door, I found her curled in a ball on the bed, a quilt pulled tightly around her, as if to shield her from the world, a barrier against the reality we faced. Her hair was wild, the strands falling haphazardly across her face, blocking the tears that glimmered in her eyes. "Mom," I whispered, rushing to her side. I knelt beside her, my heart clenching as I reached out, brushing a stray lock of hair away from her forehead. "What happened?" She looked up at me, the vulnerability in her gaze slicing through me. I tried to fight it, but I just felt so alone. I thought I could handle everything, but it just keeps piling up. Her voice was hoarse, and I fought the urge to cry for the lost warmth that used to fill our home. Together, I echoed the promise we had made earlier, touching her hand, wishing to imbue her with the strength she had always given us. "We'll face this together. No more fighting alone." But even as I said the words, I felt the wall of despair looming over us. It was then that I noticed a slip of paper resting on her bedside table. Curiosity tugged at me as I reached for it, my heart racing as I unfolded it. It was a letter addressed to me, the writing shaky and hurried. As I read, the world around me blurred. It was a letter of late payments, notice of foreclosure, and a plea for immediate action. The reality we had been dodging finally caught up with us. My mother had tried to shield me from this truth, but it was all laid bare now, the urgency hammering against my chest. "Mom, I faltered, guilt coiling in my gut as the weight of her invisible burden settled between us. But before I could finish, the door creaked open, and there stood Sam, tension etched across his features. "Is everything okay?" he asked, concern pooling in his eyes as he stepped inside. I glanced from my mother's fragile form to the letter in my hand. The world felt heavy with unspoken words, with paths we hadn't yet chosen. I swallowed hard, a well of emotion rising from somewhere deeper than fear. We got a letter from the bank," I admitted, my voice barely breaking through the suffocating silence. Sam's eyes widened as he took in our expressions, the air thickening once more. "What does it say? We can still figure something out, right?" A heaviness settled deeper in my heart as I faced the two people I loved more than anything. "I don't know," I whispered, the words so small yet so definitive. "But something has to change." Just then, the phone rang again, the sound cutting through the tension like a knife. My heart raced as I glanced at the caller, an unfamiliar number I didn't recognize but had seen multiple times over the past few weeks, each time sending a shiver up my spine. What if it was another piece of the puzzle I dreaded to confront, or a new challenge looming just around the corner? Before I could think it through, I picked up the call, the world around me fading as I braced for whatever truth lay on the other end. "Hello?" I said, my voice trembling with anticipation. But the response sent shockwaves through my chest, a name I hadn't heard in years, whispered through the line like a spell, ready to unleash a torrent of emotions. "It's me. You need to listen." And with that, the storm returned, churning chaos within our hearts and unraveling memories that may have remained buried. As I clutched the phone, the sound of my heart pounding echoed in my ears, reverberating along with the voice on the line. "It's me. You need to listen." The voice belonged to Alex, my estranged older brother, the one who had disappeared into the chaos of our family's past, leaving little more than fading photographs and a trail of unanswered questions behind. I never thought I would hear from him again, certainly not during a time when the walls of our lives felt like they were crumbling to dust. My breath hitched in my throat as I stammered, "Alex, is that you?" The world around me spun, the atmosphere charged with a mix of disbelief and dread, as if I had just stumbled upon a ghost of my memories. "Yes," he replied, his voice gravelly but unmistakable. I don't have much time, but I found something. Something important. You need to hear this. I shot a glance at my mom, still curled on the bed, and Sam standing there in the doorway, concern etched on his face. This was a phone call that could tear at the already frayed edges of our lives, or perhaps offer a lifeline we desperately needed. I took a shuddering breath and nodded, knowing that whatever came next would change everything. Okay, I said, willing my hands to steady. What is it? He hesitated for a moment, and I could almost feel the weight of his thoughts swirling through the silence. The house, it's not what you think. Our father, he paused again, and I could sense the turmoil in his voice. He kept secrets from everyone. I found the papers, legal documents. There might be a way to save it, but you have to trust me. A rush of anticipation washed over me, battling against the wave of turmoil already beating against my heart. My mother stirred on the bed, and I glanced at her, her eyes reddened and wild with worry. I could see the flicker of hope behind the veil of despair, urging me on. This might be a chance, however fragile. Alex, please, I urged, urgency creeping into my voice. What do we need to do? How can we fix this? He took a breath that sounded more like a sigh of resignation. Meet me at the old house tomorrow at noon. He'll explain everything there. Wait, I blurted out, panic flaring through me. Old house? Which one? You haven't been around, Alex. I don't even know if we can trust you. They'll be there. You'll see, he insisted, a sense of finality lacing his tone. Please, just trust me one last time. It's important. For you, for Mom. You deserve to know the truth. Before I could respond, he hung up, leaving me clutching my phone in numbed disbelief. A breath hitched in my throat, and all at once, the weight of the world crashed down again, the looming foreclosure, the painful rift between our family members, the churning of secrets that had stayed buried for too long. I turned to Sam, his brow deep in thought as he absorbed the implications of what I had just heard. What did he say? Sam asked, stepping closer as he searched my face for answers. My mouth opened, but no words came out at first. How could I articulate the roller coaster of emotions rising inside mixture of hope and anger, fear and confusion? He wants to meet tomorrow, I finally managed, my voice barely above a whisper. Meet him where? My eyes darted to the door and back to Sam. I struggled to focus on his question, my mind racing. The old house, I replied shakily, the memories flooding back with every word. That house was a relic of our childhood. A place that had once been filled with laughter before it became a symbol of our family's shattered past. Do you think it's safe? Sam's voice was layered with concern, and I could see the protectiveness etched across his features, the love that had grown in the cracks of our shared trials. I don't know, I confessed, desperation crowding my thoughts. But maybe if he knows something, if he has documents or whatever it takes to save us. Or whatever it takes to pull you deeper into the mess he left behind. Sam cautioned gently, his brow knit. Are you really ready to confront this? As my gaze swept back to my mother on the bed, her quiet resignation, a harsh reminder of our reality, I steeled myself. We don't have a choice, Sam. If there's even a glimmer of hope, we need to take it. For her. For us. With a deep and reluctant breath, I felt the realization wash over me that the past wasn't just a ghost lurking behind closed doors. It was a living, breathing part of our present. We couldn't run from it any longer. We had to face it, together. Yet as the evening drew to a close, an unsettling feeling gnawed at me. Alone in my room later that night, I rifled through the memories, conversations I wished I had finished, the moments I had taken for granted. Was forgiveness even possible for Alex? A single thought sparked in the corners of my mind. What if the truth he was bringing didn't just threaten our past but might ultimately redefine us as a family? Would it unite us or shatter whatever fragile bonds remained? Sleep eluded me, every tick of the clock dragging me deeper into a realm of uncertainty, the call from Alex still vibrating through my thoughts. What awaited us at the old house was tomorrow's mysterious revelation, poised to tear down everything we thought we understood. And as the dawn stretched its fingers into the horizon, I braced myself for the tremor that would change our lives forever. Our modest dreams clashing with the secrets that had once spiraled them into chaos. The old house stood like a relic from the past, its paint chipped and peeling, each scar a testament to the years it had weathered. I pulled into the driveway, breath hitching in my throat as memories flooded back off, laughter echoing through its hallways, of family dinners, and the warmth that had once thrived here. Today, however, an unsettling tension hung in the air, swirling around me like a storm waiting to break. As I stepped out of the car, my heart raced, every thud resonating with uncertainty. I glanced back at Sam, his brow furrowed, eyes darting toward the house as if anticipating shadows that lurked just beyond the walls. "Are you ready for this?" he asked softly, the weight of his concern wrapping around me like a comforting blanket. I nodded, though inside, doubt gnawed at my resolve. "I have to know what he wants," I replied, my voice shaky. "I need to know if there's a way to save our family." We walked toward the door, each step laden with the gravity of our shared journey, our shared fears. The door creaked open, revealing an air thick with dust and memories. I hesitated on the threshold, the familiar scent of aged wood and nostalgia washing over me. "Alex," I called out, unsure whether that would summon him or conjure ghosts of the past. Silence ensued, heavy and consuming, enveloping us both. Moments felt like hours as we stood there, the shadows around us thickening with each tick of time, until finally, a voice pierced through the silence. "You came." Alex appeared from the depths of the house, his silhouette framed by the dim light filtering through a nearby window. His face was a mix of trepidation and relief. "Why did you call me here?" The words came out sharper than intended, but I wasn't in the mood for pleasantries. There was too much at stake. Our family's future hung in the balance, teetering on the edge of secrets and revelations. He stepped closer, the warmth in his eyes contrasting the chill of the room. "Because it's important, and I think you deserve to know the truth." He pulled out a few crumpled papers from his jacket pocket. These documents, they could change everything. That I glanced at Sam, who stood close by, his expression cautious yet encouraging. "What do they say?" I pressed, anxiety bubbling beneath the surface. Alex unfolded the papers, his hands trembling slightly. "They're legal documents linked to the house specifically, a trust fund our father set up long ago." Each word felt like a puzzle piece shifting into place, yet the confusion still lingered like a simmering storm. "He never told anyone about this. I only found out recently when clearing out some old boxes." "What kind of trust?" A new wave of fear mingled with curiosity made it hard to maintain my composure. "Does it say we can save the house?" The anticipation gripped my heart, both thrilling and terrifying. "The conditions are complicated," he admitted, his voice dropping. "But it allows for certain beneficiaries to keep the property as long as they maintain it. If you can prove that you're carrying it forward, it might just work." Hope flickered like kindling inside me, fragile yet fierce against a darkening tide. "Where does that leave us?" I dared to ask, catching a glimpse of Sam watching me from the corner of my eye. "We can't maintain it if we're fighting against debts we can't pay." "It's not just about the house," Alex said, the weight of his words drawing me in. "This trust was for all of us, for our future, not just to hold onto a piece of property. It's a reminder of family, of what we can build together." For the first time in years, I felt the familiar ache of connection, of possibility. But uncertainty still lingered like thick fog. What if you're wrong? What if this is just another false hope? I couldn't ignore the doubt worming its way back into my thoughts, tendrils of fear wrapping tight around my heart. His gaze bore into mine, unwavering and earnest. "Then we'll face that together, as a family. But I promise you, I wouldn't have come back if I didn't believe." Suddenly, the front door swung open with a creak, and my mother entered the doorway, her eyes widening in shock at the sight of her eldest son. "Alex," the sound of her voice shattered the fragile moment, her emotional vulnerability pulling at my heartstrings. "Mom," he stepped forward, the surprise of his arrival mingling with anxiety in her eyes. "I'm here to talk about Dad and the house." A thousand unspoken emotions rushed through the room, filling the air like wildfire. I could see hope but also fear flickering across her features. A tempest of conflicting emotions that could erupt at any moment. "You came back to fight," she breathed, her voice thick, yet strength bloomed behind her words. "You want to help us?" He nodded, stepping toward her and pulling her into a gentle embrace. I watched, each moment stirring something deep within memories of laughter and warmth. A family nearly lost but still capable of healing. "I'm sorry for everything I've put you all through," he murmured, the sound barely above a whisper. "It's time we put the past behind us." That I felt the room shift around us, the weight of abandonment transforming into reconnection. As they broke apart, I stepped closer, offering a lingering look of understanding. "But we have to act fast," I reminded them, the urgency weighing heavily on my heart. The looming threat of foreclosure wasn't waiting for us to reconcile our realities. It was relentless in its approach. "We'll get through this together," my mother stated, a newfound determination gripping the air. "Let's find a way to fight for family and the home that holds our memories." It was like a wave crashing against the shore, crushing, tumultuous, yet ultimately liberating. She had chosen to rewrite our fate, layer by layer, as we gathered together. The sound of a phone ringing echoed through the space, reverberating the connective ties we were weaving as a family. I reached for my phone, glancing at the screen to find an unknown number flashing once again. The shadows of doubt threatened to creep in, but the light from Alex and my mother burned brighter than the uncertainty surrounding us. "Answer it," Sam urged gently, standing close beside me. I swallowed hard, recognizing the significance of this moment. There was a chance this call, in union with what we had just discovered, could shape the destiny we were fighting for. Taking a deep breath, I accepted the call. "Hello?" My voice trembled slightly, merging anxiety with disbelief as I braced for yet another tumultuous revelation, perhaps one that could pull the threads of our renewed hope tighter, or unravel everything we were building anew at High. "This is Linda from the Community Development Office," the voice said matter-of-factly, catching my breath. "I've been looking over your family's situation, and I believe we have a solution." With each word that followed, the possibilities began to unfold, transforming the chaos around us into something tangible, hope springing forth amid the rubble of our fears. I looked at my family, the bond forming stronger by the minute, and realized in that moment that we were no longer standing on the edge, but stepping forward together. Everything we had endured, every bit of struggle and trauma, transformed into resilience, the spark from within illuminating the path ahead. Whatever waited for us beyond this day did not hold the same power as it once did. As I hung up the call, the realization settled in, seeping deep into my bones. The battle was far from over, yet we were no longer facing it alone. That I in unison. We were reminded that even from the darkest shadows, we could still find the light. We were a family woven with dreams, intertwined with love, and as long as we fought together, nothing could truly tear us apart. And in that moment, hope felt palpable, blooming bright against the weight of uncertainty, marking the beginning of a new chapter we would write together. "Together," I said softly, bringing our hands together, solidifying our bond. "We will find a way." The warmth of my family's shared determination wrapped around us like a reassuring embrace, and it was in that small room with weathered walls that our fight for the home and for each other truly began. In the end, love became the steadiest anchor against the tides of uncertainty, reminding us that together, we could craft a legacy that defied every storm. Walking away that day, I understood that neither dreams nor love could ever be extinguished. Rooted deeply within us, they blossomed anew every time we chose to believe. And as I crossed the threshold, I smiled, knowing that while the past had shaped us, our future was ours to create, and I could finally breathe without fear. In the end, it was not just about holding onto the walls we so dearly wished to keep. It was about the love and memories that breathed life into them, transforming echoes of the past into harmonies of hope, no matter what lay ahead.